Breaking right now, the UK Supreme Court has just detonated a political bomb that's tearing through Westminster like wildfire. In an unprecedented move that's never been seen in modern British history, the highest court in the land has issued a direct order to Prime Minister Keir Starmer: resign immediately, step down, leave office. This isn't a suggestion, this isn't a recommendation, this is a judicial command that's sending shockwaves through every corridor of power in Britain. The reason? A staggering £124,000 financial scandal that's been hiding in plain sight, wrapped in layers of secrecy, deception, and what the court is now calling deliberate obstruction of justice. Right now, as you watch this, Downing Street is in absolute chaos. Advisors are in panic mode. Labour MPs are turning their backs. The opposition is preparing for blood. And the British public is erupting in fury. What you're about to discover isn't just another political controversy. This is a constitutional earthquake that threatens to bring down an entire government and expose a web of corruption that reaches far deeper than anyone imagined. The court's judgment is damning, the evidence is devastating, and the Prime Minister's silence is deafening. Hold tight, because what's unfolding right now will change British politics forever. This morning, Britain woke up to a nightmare scenario that constitutional experts are calling the gravest crisis of governance in over half a century. The Supreme Court, led by Chief Justice Dame Sue Carr, delivered a ruling so explosive, so unprecedented, that it's left the entire political establishment reeling in disbelief. The judgment didn't just criticise Keir Starmer, it didn't just question his integrity, it systematically dismantled his credibility, exposed his financial misconduct, and concluded with words that no sitting Prime Minister has ever heard from Britain's highest court. Immediate resignation is not only warranted, it is constitutionally necessary. Those words are now echoing through Parliament, through newsrooms, and through millions of British homes where ordinary people are demanding to know how their leader, the man who promised transparency and integrity, could be caught in such a catastrophic web of deception. The scandal centres on a property transaction that Starmer desperately tried to keep hidden from public scrutiny. According to court documents and independent audits that have now been made public, a family property in North London was sold under circumstances that raise severe questions about financial transparency and legal compliance. The sale price declared to authorities was suspiciously low, triggering immediate red flags among auditors and anti-corruption investigators. Here's where it gets truly damning. The real market value of that property, according to 3 separate independent valuations commissioned by the court, was £124,000 higher than what was officially reported. That's not a minor discrepancy. That's not a bookkeeping error. That is a massive undervaluation that appears to have been deliberately concealed from parliamentary disclosure requirements. Every member of Parliament, especially the Prime Minister, is legally obligated to declare significant financial interests and transactions. Starmer didn't. The money vanished from official records. The sale was buried under layers of paperwork. And when questions first emerged months ago, Starmer's office responded with denials, deflections, and what investigators now describe as calculated obstruction. But the property scandal is just the beginning of this nightmare. As investigators dug deeper into Starmer's financial affairs, they uncovered a pattern of undisclosed gifts, luxury perks, and suspicious donations that paint a picture of a man living far beyond his declared means while hiding the source of his wealth from public view. A £39,000 gift from a wealthy legal donor, believed to have connections to offshore trusts and international business interests, was never reported to the parliamentary register. Luxury holidays to exclusive destinations, business class flights on private charters, and what appear to be consulting fees disguised as research grants have all emerged in leaked bank statements and internal communications that were obtained through Freedom of Information requests and whistleblower testimonies. The Supreme Court examined every piece of evidence, every transaction, every suspicious payment, and reached a conclusion that's now sending politicians into absolute panic. This was not accidental. This was systematic. This was deliberate concealment designed to avoid scrutiny and accountability. The court's language in the final judgment is absolutely scathing. They didn't use diplomatic, legal jargon or cautious wording. They went for the throat. The ruling explicitly states that Starmer engaged in deliberate opacity, knowingly violated the ministerial code, and personally intervened to prevent full disclosure of his financial affairs. Even more shocking, the court found evidence suggesting that Starmer instructed his closest advisors to block internal reviews that would have exposed the financial anomalies. He knew, he covered it up, and he did everything in his power to keep the British people in the dark. According to testimony from former staffers who spoke to investigators under protection, Starmer became increasingly paranoid about financial scrutiny in the months leading up to the scandal breaking. Emails reviewed by the court show him demanding that certain documents be kept off official systems. Messages reveal conversations about delaying disclosure requirements, and recorded phone calls, now part of the legal record, capture him discussing strategies to minimise the appearance of conflicts of interest without actually addressing the underlying problems. Inside Westminster, the reaction has been swift, brutal and utterly unforgiving. Conservative MPs are now openly calling for an emergency vote of no confidence, and they have the numbers to make it happen. Reform UK, seizing the moment with ruthless efficiency, is demanding an immediate general election, arguing that the government has lost all legitimacy and moral authority to govern. Even within Labour's own ranks, the cracks are starting to show. Multiple shadow cabinet ministers, speaking anonymously to journalists, have admitted they're considering resignation if Starmer refuses to step down. One senior Labour figure told reporters in a moment of brutal honesty, "This is beyond damage control. This is career suicide for anyone who stands by him." The Parliamentary Labour Party is now divided into three factions: those who publicly defend Starmer while privately preparing escape plans, those who are openly calling for his resignation to save the party, and those who have gone completely silent, waiting to see which way the wind blows before committing to a position. Behind closed doors, emergency meetings are happening around the clock. Labour's election strategists are in absolute meltdown, scrambling to assess the electoral damage and trying to figure out if there's any possible way to salvage the party's reputation before the next election. Internal polling data leaked to political journalists reveals a catastrophic collapse in public trust. Labour's lead in national polls has evaporated in less than a week. Swing constituencies that were leaning Labour are now tilting toward Reform UK and the Conservatives. Even core Labour strongholds in Northern England and urban centres are showing dangerous signs of defection. One leaked internal memo written by a senior campaign director puts it bluntly: if Starmer is still in office by the end of this month, we're looking at electoral annihilation on a scale that will make the Corbyn years look like a minor setback. Outside Parliament, the public response has been volcanic. Protests are erupting across every major city in Britain. In London, tens of thousands have descended on Parliament Square, blocking traffic, waving banners and chanting "Resign now and no more eyes." In Manchester, protesters held a mock trial, reenacting the Supreme Court's findings, with actors playing judges and presenting evidence to crowds who responded with roars of approval. In Glasgow, Edinburgh, Birmingham and Bristol, similar scenes are unfolding. This isn't just anger. This is a full-blown popular uprising against what people are calling the betrayal of democratic principles. Social media has exploded into a firestorm of rage and disbelief. Hashtags like Starmer scandal, Supreme Court resign, and corrupt PM are trending worldwide. Videos of ordinary Brits, from NHS nurses to military veterans to teachers and factory workers, are going viral as people share their fury and disappointment. One video featuring a retired schoolteacher from Yorkshire has been viewed over 5 million times. She looks directly into the camera and says, "We trusted him to be different. We believed he was honest, and he spat in our faces." The media, even outlets traditionally sympathetic to Labour, have turned. The Guardian published an editorial with the headline, "Trust is broken, Starmer must go." The BBC ran a primetime special examining the scandal in forensic detail, concluding that the Prime Minister faces an impossible situation with no credible path forward. Even Channel 4 News, known for its progressive stance, aired a devastating investigation that uncovered additional undeclared financial connections that weren't even part of the Supreme Court's original inquiry. Journalists are now competing to dig deeper, to find more dirt, to be the one who uncovers the next bombshell. And if the whispers are true, there are more bombshells coming. Investigative reporters claim they're sitting on evidence of additional offshore accounts, suspicious property transactions involving family members, and donations from foreign entities that could violate electoral law. One senior journalist reportedly told colleagues, the £124,000 is just the tip of the iceberg. What's underneath could sink the entire Labour Party. And yet, through all of this chaos, through the Supreme Court order, through the public outrage, through the party revolt, Keir Starmer remains silent. No press conference, no statement, no apology, just silence. His team issued a brief, vague response claiming the Prime Minister is reviewing the ruling and considering his options. But legal experts are unanimous in their assessment. There are no options. The Supreme Court's order is binding. Delay is not just politically suicidal, it's potentially unlawful. Constitutional lawyers are now debating whether continued refusal to resign could trigger emergency powers that haven't been used in modern times. Some are even suggesting that if Starmer refuses to obey the court's order, the monarch could be forced to intervene, dismissing the Prime Minister directly to preserve constitutional order. Britain is now staring into a constitutional abyss that no one thought possible in the 21st century. But here's the question that's keeping everyone awake at night, the question that's being whispered in Parliament and shouted in the streets. What is Keir Starmer hiding that's so damaging he's willing to destroy his career, his party, and potentially the stability of the entire country, rather than simply tell the truth? The answer to that question may be far more terrifying than anyone imagined. As Keir Starmer's silence stretches from hours into days, investigators and journalists are uncovering layers of financial complexity that suggest the £124,000 property scandal is merely the visible surface of something far more sinister. Behind the scenes, forensic accountants working with the Supreme Court's investigation have identified a network of transactions, shell companies and offshore entities that paint a disturbing picture of systematic financial obscurity. This isn't just about one undervalued property sale. This is about a years-long pattern of financial arrangements that appear specifically designed to avoid scrutiny, evade transparency requirements, and shield the Prime Minister from accountability. And what's emerging from this deeper investigation has sent shockwaves through Britain's intelligence and security apparatus. Multiple sources within the Financial Investigations Unit have confirmed that at least 3 offshore accounts linked through intermediary trust structures have connections that trace back to entities associated with Starmer's financial advisors. These accounts, registered in jurisdictions known for banking secrecy and minimal regulatory oversight, were allegedly used to receive payments described as consultancy fees, legal advice retainers, and speaking engagement honorariums. But here's what makes this truly explosive. Several of these payments came from organisations and individuals with documented interests in influencing British government policy, international law firms seeking favourable trade agreements, property developers hoping for planning permission overhauls, and perhaps most damning, foreign business consortiums that later received lucrative government contracts under Starmer's administration. The timeline is damning, money flowing in, favourable decisions flowing out. And throughout it all, none of these financial relationships were ever disclosed to Parliament or the British public. The Supreme Court's investigation uncovered internal communications that revealed just how far Starmer went to keep these arrangements hidden. Encrypted messaging between Starmer and his closest financial advisors, obtained through legal discovery powers, shows repeated discussions about minimising paper trails, avoiding official documentation, and ensuring that certain transactions remained off the parliamentary register of interests. In one particularly damning exchange, Starmer allegedly wrote to an advisor, "We need to make sure this doesn't trigger automatic disclosure. Find a way to structure it differently." In another message, he reportedly instructed staff to delay filing updated interest declarations until after a critical vote in Parliament, specifically to avoid questions about potential conflicts of interest. These aren't the actions of someone making innocent mistakes. These are the calculated moves of someone who knew exactly what they were doing and knew exactly why it needed to stay hidden. But the corruption allegations go even deeper, into territory that threatens not just Starmer's political career, but potentially his freedom. Investigators have now identified what they believe is a deliberate scheme to suppress internal audits and silence whistleblowers who attempted to raise concerns about the Prime Minister's financial irregularities. At least 2 civil servants who worked in financial oversight positions were allegedly reassigned to different departments after they began asking questions about discrepancies in Starmer's declared income and assets. One of these whistleblowers, speaking under condition of anonymity to protect against retaliation, told investigators that when they raised concerns about unexplained wealth, they were called into meetings with senior officials who made it clear their career would suffer if they continued pursuing the matter. Another whistleblower claims they were offered a promotion and transfer to a prestigious posting abroad, on the condition that they drop their internal investigation and sign a comprehensive non-disclosure agreement. When they refused, they alleged they faced a campaign of professional sabotage that ultimately forced them out of government service entirely. The implications are staggering. If these allegations are proven true, Starmer didn't just hide financial misconduct, he actively used the machinery of government to cover it up, intimidate those who might expose him, and corrupt the very systems designed to ensure transparency and accountability. This transforms the scandal from a matter of personal ethics into a systemic abuse of power that strikes at the heart of democratic governance. And the Supreme Court, in their ruling, made it abundantly clear they believe these allegations warrant immediate criminal investigation. The judgment explicitly recommends that law enforcement agencies, including the Serious Fraud Office and the National Crime Agency, launch formal investigations into potential violations of anti-corruption laws, misconduct in public office, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Britain's top law enforcement officials are now under enormous pressure to act, and sources suggest that charging decisions could come within weeks, not months. Inside Downing Street, the atmosphere has reportedly descended into pure chaos and paranoia. Staff members are lawyering up, afraid they'll be caught in the expanding web of investigations. Senior advisors who once enjoyed unfettered access to the Prime Minister are now keeping their distance, worried about being associated with what many privately describe as a sinking ship on fire. Leaked WhatsApp messages from the inner circle reveal a team that's completely fractured, with advisors blaming each other for the crisis and desperately trying to position themselves as having advised against the financial arrangements that are now destroying Starmer's premiership. One particularly revealing message, allegedly sent by a senior communications director, reads, "I told him months ago this would blow up. I told him to come clean. He refused to listen. And now we're all going down with him." The recriminations have begun, and the loyalty that once held Starmer's team together has completely evaporated under the heat of legal jeopardy and public disgrace. The political fallout is accelerating at breakneck speed. Labour MPs are now openly discussing leadership challenges, with at least 3 potential successors quietly preparing campaigns to replace Starmer. Angela Rayner, once considered his most loyal deputy, has conspicuously avoided making any public statements defending the Prime Minister, leading to widespread speculation that she's positioning herself as the unity candidate who can save the party. Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, has reportedly held private meetings with major party donors to reassure them that Labour can survive this crisis if it acts decisively to remove Starmer. And Wes Streeting, always ambitious and never shy about his leadership aspirations, has begun making media appearances where he talks about the need for Labour to return to its values of transparency and accountability, carefully avoiding any mention of Starmer's name. The knives are out. The leadership contest has already begun in everything but official announcement, and Starmer, isolated and besieged, has almost no allies left willing to defend him publicly. Parliament itself is preparing for unprecedented action. The Speaker of the House has confirmed that an emergency debate on a motion of no confidence will be held within days, and the numbers are looking catastrophic for Starmer. Conservative MPs are united in their determination to bring down the government. Reform UK will obviously vote against Starmer. The Liberal Democrats have already announced they'll support the motion, And most critically, backbench Labour MPs are signalling they may either vote against their own Prime Minister or simply abstain, which would have the same effect. Political analysts estimate that Starmer could lose the confidence vote by a margin of over 100 votes, a humiliation of historic proportions. If that happens, constitutional protocol demands his immediate resignation and the triggering of either a leadership election within Labour or a general election if no alternative government can command confidence. Britain is hurtling toward a political reckoning that could reshape the entire landscape of British politics for a generation. Outside Westminster, the public anger has evolved from protests into something more organised and more dangerous for the government. Grassroots movements are coordinating nationwide demonstrations demanding not just Starmer's resignation, but a complete overhaul of financial transparency requirements for all MPs. Trade unions, traditionally Labour's most reliable supporters, are withdrawing endorsements and threatening to cut funding entirely until the party takes decisive action. Unite the Union released a statement declaring they can no longer, in good conscience, support a Labour Party led by someone under such serious ethical clouds. The GMB union followed with their own statement demanding immediate accountability. These aren't just symbolic gestures. These unions provide millions of pounds in funding that Labour depends on for election campaigns. Without them, the party faces potential financial collapse on top of its political crisis. Social media campaigns have gone beyond mere outrage into active organisation. Crowdfunding efforts have raised hundreds of thousands of pounds to support legal challenges against Starmer's continued occupation of office. Citizens groups are filing formal complaints with every regulatory body that has jurisdiction over MPs' conduct. And a petition calling for Starmer's immediate resignation and a public inquiry into government corruption has gathered over 2 million signatures in less than a week, making it one of the fastest growing political petitions in British history. The petition demands that Parliament debate the issue immediately, and under parliamentary rules, they have no choice but to schedule that debate. The voice of the people, long ignored by political elites, is now impossible to dismiss or deflect. International observers are watching this crisis with a mixture of shock and concern. Britain, long considered a bastion of political stability and institutional integrity, is now displaying all the hallmarks of a government in terminal decline. European leaders are privately expressing alarm about the stability of their key partner in matters of security and trade. The United States, while officially maintaining diplomatic silence, has reportedly sent senior officials to London for private briefings on the situation, worried about the implications for intelligence sharing and military cooperation if Britain descends into prolonged political chaos. Foreign investors are becoming increasingly nervous, with some major financial institutions reportedly reviewing their exposure to British markets and considering contingency plans if the government collapses. The pound has already weakened and against major currencies as uncertainty spreads. Britain's international reputation, painstakingly rebuilt over decades, is being shredded in real time by a scandal that seems to grow darker and more complex with each passing hour. And yet still, Keir Starmer refuses to speak. His continued silence is now interpreted not as strategic calculation, but as the desperate paralysis of a man who knows that any statement he makes will only make things worse. Legal experts believe he's caught in an impossible trap. If he admits wrongdoing, he opens himself to immediate criminal prosecution. If he denies the allegations, he contradicts the Supreme Court's findings and risks perjury charges if further evidence emerges. If he tries to explain the transactions as legitimate, he'll have to reveal details about offshore arrangements and undisclosed income that could expose even more serious violations. There is no good move left on the board. Every path leads to destruction. And so he sits in Downing Street, surrounded by lawyers, abandoned by allies, watching his legacy burn while the entire country demands answers he cannot give without destroying himself completely. But here's what nobody is talking about yet. What happens if the evidence trail leads beyond Starmer himself? What if this corruption reaches into the very heart of Britain's political establishment, infecting not just one man but an entire system that has been rotting from within for years? Share your thoughts in the comments.